Hi, welcome to this Choose to Challenge panel discussion. It is the third session that we're going to have tonight, and we're talking all about the hiring process because it is one of the key factors in establishing gender equality and diversity across the board. We need to be able to recruit people into these roles. We're going to be talking all about the hiring process right from the very start when it comes to preparing your job advert, right through to the candidate's decision. And today I'm joined once again by Ronke Babajide, who is the Senior Solutions Engineer at VMware. She's also the podcast host of the Women in Tech podcast Spotlight series. And we've also got Ursula, Jobst, who is a program manager at A1 Telekom and an incredibly passionate driver of gender balance and diversity in everything that she does, both in her own organization and outside, getting involved in projects like this. As our guest panelist today, I am very delighted to announce we've got Tina Landreau. She is a fantastic tech recruiter, an advocate for women in technology, as a mentor for the future female leaders as part of the Female Factor, and a tech recruiter for APSA Personnel Concepts. So welcome and thank you for joining us again, ladies, and special welcome to Tina.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
You're very welcome. I guess what would be really useful is to understand why you're so passionate about this subject, and from your experience as a tech recruiter, how you see gender balance when it comes to recruitment.
Yes, well, I've been working in recruiting for almost 15 years now, and I've always been working in male domains at the beginning of my career, especially in industrial companies, and already back then I didn't see a lot of women. Unfortunately, I also had some negative experiences. Back then, I really experienced that women have less chances than men in the age between 30 and 40, because this is the time where they are supposed to have children. Some hiring managers didn't choose a woman because she might get pregnant, And, my answer was, but, he might just change jobs. It's the same thing. You can lose any employee, even if he or she will not get pregnant. So those were the first experiences when I thought, this is not really fair for women. And I've started looking into the IT industry 4 or 5 years ago. And now being very specialized in tech recruiting and seeing that there are so many chances in this industry, especially now during the pandemic, there are even more job opportunities in the IT industry. And I feel it's really important to attract women. Last year, I thought that I need to do more than, coaching women throughout the interview processes and so on, more than trying to find women or trying to source more women. It's also empowering them. And one of the reasons, or the 2 reasons actually, my 2 girls, they show me every day that having role models is really so important. There's one story that I already shared in another podcast. She's almost 7 now. She was 6 years old, and she asked me in the morning if I can tell her how humans developed on this planet. And I decided to show her a picture because it is easier to describe if I can show her the development. And I just Googled evolution of humans, and you see the typical picture of a man developing from the primates developing to the Homo sapiens, and the picture that we all know that we probably never questioned. And my daughter said, were there no women before on this planet? And that was a really, really eye-opening moment. That was a moment when I already thought about how can we make the women more visible in the industry. And when my daughter told me or asked me this question, this was just the moment when I said, okay, I need to do something about that, because if you can see it, you can be it. That's what it is. And yeah, so I started becoming a mentor for the female factor, and also I started to do interviews with women in tech, just like Ronke does. That's also how we get to know each other, actually. And yeah, showing their way into the IT, hearing their stories, and yeah, that's my little contribution to create more visibility.
So what we wanted to talk about is how do we get more women into IT, and how do we make this hiring process better so that we can bring more people into, as you say, this great sort of sector to work in. Now, I'm a hiring manager, and I will look for anybody who wants to take on that challenge. But I noticed that I don't get many female applicants, and I'm wondering from your perspective how I can get more women to apply, and what is the barrier to them applying in the first place?
Yeah, I think the two things that you should look at is well, the job description first of all, and then also your website, your careers page. So the way you show your company as an employer. Because these are the two things that will be looked at when someone is looking for a job. So looking at the websites, visibility again is a thing that helps, I guess, if you show women in pictures, and this is also a way that you can already see yourself maybe in this company if you see someone who looks like you, who has the same gender. It's very important for them to see what does the place look like when they go there. What is the company culture? What benefits does the company have? So to highlight that on the website and to promote family-friendly policies is also another way to attract more women, I think. And regarding the job description, a gender-neutral wording is very important. It's a bit easier in English because a developer can be a man or a woman. In German, it's already there's already a difference, and I still see a lot of German job ads that use the male name and putting in brackets that it's female, male, or diverse, but still. It's a question of identification, And then the requirements. Women tend to look at the requirements a lot more self-critical than men might do. So yeah, we try to meet at least 80%, if not 100% of the requirements. So yeah, I think it's good to really look at the requirements, say, is this really something that we need? Is 5 years of experience the minimum that we want, or is it okay to find someone with 3-4 years experience? Because if you have a number like 5 years of experience as a Java developer, then a woman with 3 years experience might not apply. So it's always good to mention some requirements as being an advantage, a plus, but not necessarily a must criterion.
Can I interject a question? Because we're already talking about the job ads. I think what I would like to understand first is where do we actually find women to look at these job ads? Because what we have all experienced, and I think you too, is that there are very few women out there who are actually interested in these jobs in IT. And I was wondering what we can do to make our sample size bigger, to have women to actually answer these ads, because this is a place where we are kind of stuck at the moment.
Well, I think this is also where the visibility of different kinds of jobs comes in, because if you hear about the word IT, if you're not into the industry, you don't really know what is going on, what is the job about. So showing that the diversity of possibilities within the industry is really important. And this is also where interviews help, like the interviews that you do, Ronke, or like the ones that I do, to show what do those women actually do in their job. And it's not a nerdy thing that you're not only sitting in front of your computer, but you're also communicating a lot. You have client contact and so on. Well, especially in the last year, so I think that there are so many female networks coming up, and this is where women feel empowered. So yeah, use networks, to introduce the company. Yeah, one thing that is still important as well is to start in a very early stage, to start in kindergarten, in school, to raise awareness. I experienced, like 2 months ago, someone said, my daughter is really good in maths, and someone said, but that's not for girls, and and this was a really crazy experience. And she's almost not, she's 6-7 years old, and already she hears that it's not for her.
It is a fact that we do not have enough women or female talents and girls in the STEAM area, yeah. And so when I look in our talent programs, yeah, and when we then do this picture, yeah, where we present all of our talents in the IT sector, we have 1 or 2 girls there, yeah. So this is kind of the reality. So when we're thinking of hiring as just one key enabler for to increase the female share within a company, so this is of course one important part. But the second point I would like to raise is that there are already women in a company, and how can we bring these existing female employees into the IT areas, or existing female female employees who are working for other companies. How can we attract them to IT companies, for example? Yeah, so there I see a lack of discussion and creativity. There is no discussion regarding skill development, so this is quite in an early stage, I have the feeling, yeah, and from both sides, so from company side and from the employees side as well, yeah. So what I saw or what I experienced is that women sometimes are afraid to put on their fingers on numbers or technology or programming languages, yeah, because they simply don't know if they are interested in, because they haven't tried it out yet, yeah. And I think this might be an important part to discuss, yeah. What can we do to bring the existing female employees to these areas, yeah, and in general. In combination with the discussion around agile transformation, there are so many new roles establishing on the market, like Scrum Master, agile coaches, yeah, so totally related to the IT department and software development. So this is such a great opportunity for women to jump on this technology and IT train, yeah. But I still see that there are a lot of inhibitions to do that.
I agree, but I think that the stem of the problem is basically the same, whether you talk about bringing new women into IT or bringing women who are already in the workforce into IT. It's the same issue. They don't know what we're doing, which means we have to find a way to interest them. And then of course we need the enablement programs to do skill development. But the root of the problem is the same. We have to attract women into this field. And the question is how we can do that. How can we make women feel that this is for them? This is something that's interesting, and this is something they can actually do. And actually, it breaks my heart to hear that there are people out there who will tell a little girl that math is not for her. I mean, this because you talked about women who have a problem putting their hands on numbers, but that's where it comes from.
So you mentioned, obviously in German, you have a different title for engineer, whether it's masculine or feminine. So, but you just mentioned another one there, Oshi, that made me think about Scrum Master. I wonder if maybe there's a lot of roles like engineer that we stereotypically associate with it being a male role. And I heard this from some young girls that were saying they wouldn't go into engineering because that was a man's area, that was a man's. And I wonder if we think developer, we think, going back to that, what's accessible for women, but maybe we think business analysis, project management is more accessible because you do get more females in those roles. But Scrum Master, to me, does that bring around connotations that that's a male role? So I wonder if there's more in this job titles, and what advice you give to people when they're recruiting about thinking carefully about the job title and tailoring it.
We try to, if we receive job descriptions from our clients, we try to look at the job description and see if we go out there with the title. But it's really hard to, as you said, Scrum Master sounds really masculine. We all must be very, very creative, I think, in thinking about alternatives.
Or maybe it's not changing the name, it's changing the narrative for the youngsters, so they don't associate an engineer with a masculine role, or a Scrum Master as being a masculine role. And we change the definition by changing the stereotype of what an engineer looks like, and we put Ronke on the screen more often, and things like that. So to sort of drive it, as you say. So we've got this pipeline, because what we're basically saying here is the pipeline's incredibly important. You need the pipeline of people that are really interested in following a career in tech before you even get to the point where they're looking at an advert and thinking it might be for them. Is that what I'm hearing? And then this advert, it's not just the advert. I found it really interesting. You said the website. We need to make sure the website has got family friendly things on it. It's got pictures of a diverse workforce. People are really interested in that now, so they're going to be checking those things out. Does this website look like a place that I would want to work? And that's interesting. I'd not asked myself that about my adverts. When I put my adverts out there, I don't go and check the company website to see if that's being gender balanced, and that's really interesting, because that's something that we can all do. And then I'd also heard about the whole women like to check off every requirement on the list before they will feel confident to apply. And I know this from my own experience. I won't apply for a role. I'll go through with a highlighter pen, and any gaps, I say, I haven't got experience in that, I can't apply for it. And I've been on the receiving end of that. And here I am posing a list of requirements that maybe I need to go and thin out. And that was the advice from our talent acquisition last week. So it's really interesting that you bring that up here as well. So a few actions for a few people to really take a look at those. Before we move on to talking more about what's the difference between the kind of requirements that you get between men and women, is there anything else we want to talk about with regards to job adverts and the actual start of the process?
I think what you mentioned about putting the female picture in the outside into the world is something that's really very important. And it's not just about web pages. I think it's very much about media and about movies and all that, those things, because where did that concept come from? What pictures of developers or programmers do you have in your head? Where do they come from? They come from movies mostly. Yes. Yeah. So that is a place where people could actually do something. Of course, we have no influence there, but this is a discussion that has to be had, that if you have a movie, how do you represent people in IT? What do they look like? What gender do they have? What race do they have? So these are all questions that can lead to a change, because I think we underestimate the influence of media on our society, because it's often that especially if you look at Hollywood movies, that they do something that's deemed very risky, actually, or risque, actually not risky, risque is actually the right word. And society kind of adapts to the pictures they see interracial couples, and people adapt to the thought that there can be interracial couples, and then they show gay people, they have series with gay people in them, and people just kind of evolve with what they see. And I think having more pictures of women in technical roles out there would help. Of course, we're trying to do that with our interviews and our role models, but I do feel that we could achieve much more if, for example, just like if IBM has a job advert out there in a newspaper, if the people in that advert were women, they're doing it. They're starting to do these things. But this is so important, because that's where we get our pictures from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's right, but that just reminds me of someone, a keynote speaker yesterday told us. So it's one part, to increase the female share in companies, or in tech or in STEAM, but that's not enough. You need to include them into your culture. Yeah. And when I go back to the picture, what we have, within our talent program. So actually the reality is, as I said, 1 or 2 women, within this IT talent program. Yeah. And when I think of, of our career homepage, where there is this picture, unfortunately, people can see, there is not, or women won't get attracted to this. But on the other hand, so what I was thinking right now was, it is the reality, and I don't kind of want to show, more women than in reality on the career webpage, just to have a PR message out there that we are diverse. And I see that there is this is.
Yeah, can I say something to that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I feel that is a misconception. This is not about showing how diverse you are. This is about making people feel that they see themselves in the role. And this is the same, because the reasoning behind this is not we have so many women, but you can be one of those women who we hire. And if you look at this more closely, is we're not talking about, because you said now in the company there are only 2 women, we're not yet at the point where we're talking about retention. We're just talking about making people feel that this could be for them. And that means that you don't have to show only women, but you have to show women as well, with at least 50-50. So, and I also feel that you have to show people with headscarves, and you have to show people with different skin colors. And because if you're a woman, it's bad enough because you have no representation. But if you're a woman wearing a headscarf or a hijab, then you feel even more left out. So I feel all these things have to be represented, even if they're not yet in the company, because people won't apply if they don't.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I agree, Ronke. The point I wanted to make is that this is not enough, just to do a nice picture, or to put a nice picture on your career webpage that doesn't kind of show the reality. Sure, we need something that attracts the people, or these role models. And but we do not win this game, or this race, for the best female talents, especially in IT, if they come to us and then they see, okay, I'm actually really the only one, and the culture is terrible, and it's really male dominated, and blah, blah, blah. So there are 2 parts, and
of course there's so many issues that we have. That's why we're having this panel discussion around different topics. But if we're just looking at hiring, which we're doing today, we're talking about possibility to make more women interested. And then the next step will be looking at the companies and how to make women feel welcome there, and how to make women stay, because that's also an issue. That's the next, I think that's like the next discussion we should be having. But personally, I really feel that role models, and especially for younger girls and women, are so important.
Absolutely. I'm just picking up on the media thing that you mentioned, movies, and it sounds crazy, but Ally McBeal spurred a lot of women moving into becoming a lawyer, training for that role, because they could see themselves being this amazing professional. And we'd almost need, I think somebody else must have said this before, but we almost need an Ally McBeal, don't we, for the IT sector, something, as you say, that shows. And I thought that was really interesting what you said. It's not about showing that we're open to diversity on a website. It's showing someone like you can do this role and can enjoy it and be successful. And I guess that comes around to, it doesn't matter what your makeup of is today. It's saying I'm committed to supporting you, whoever you are, in doing this role, wherever you come from. And that's that diversity thing, but also the individual believing I can do this. I can see myself doing this, and I'm not going to be something from a movie that's shown I don't know, a male hacker sat in the corner with pizza boxes surrounded around him, which is obviously, probably creating a bit of a barrier. I wanted to move on to talk about, so we've got this job advert, we've talked about the pipeline, and then the next stage is, okay, you're talking to these female candidates. What is it that they're looking for that perhaps other candidates aren't? And yeah, a bit more about that, Tina.
Well, first of all, I think also in this case, having role models in the interview panel might also be a good way to show well, if you already have women in the company, of course, to include women also on interview panels, and yeah, looking at the benefits. I think that it's very important for women, and more for men as well. Thankfully, this is changing as well. It's not only motherhood, it's parenthood that we're looking at nowadays. Is that you have family-friendly policies. So we really need flexibility. Yeah, looking at working hours or home office possibilities, childcare facilities, for example. So those are things that are really attractive for women. Mentoring programs. So this is also a way to help empower the women within a company to grow. And also possibilities. I mean, I'm jumping back a little bit to another thing that we talked about internally. If you want to attract women inside the company to change into the IT department, mentoring could also be a way to attract them. But yeah, I think those benefits when it comes to flexibility are very important for women, and not only women who have children. I mean, we are all facing a lot of people asking to work 30 hours a week nowadays, and not only women, also men. So I think this needs to change. There's a lot of change that needs to happen within the next months and years, especially since the pandemic. I feel that people started thinking about their priorities in life, and offering more part-time solutions is crucial here.
Yeah.
Tina, one question from my side. Are job sharing concepts something that the employer or the employee demands, or is this something interesting?
Not to us. I mean, when we jump in supporting the recruiting department, then it's because they need a very special profile, and there are not enough talents out there who apply on job ads. When it comes to job sharing, I hear that keyword quite often in the past days. Actually, I read it quite often. So there are a few models, and again, a few role models showing that this is possible. And I think that it's a very interesting way to fill a job, because if there are two people who would like to work part-time for one job, but you still have two brains, you know, I mean, this is just, there are so much more possibilities.
I have a question about these special requirements. Are they requirements that you actually see the employers offering, or is this something that women are looking for and not getting? I would be interested in the status quo, actually.
What do you mean, the requirements?
We talked about all these family-friendly options, kindergartens, flexibility. Is that something you see employers offering nowadays to attract women, or are we still just, you know, trying to get them?
Yeah. No, I really have. Well, at least in most of our clients are Austrian-based companies, and flexible working hours are almost standard now in, well, at least in modern companies in the IT environment. Home office is standard now for a year. Helped a bit. Before our company, so already before the pandemic, I was working 3 days from home office, because we had that new way of work spirit already before everyone was talking about it. And we try to show our clients, you know, it is possible. You know, our team is working from home at least 50% of their time, and yeah, we have a good team spirit and we are successful. So you don't need to hang around the office all the time. So back then, like 2 years ago, we had to convince our clients that home office is a good option, and they some companies offered like 1 day a week. But now, we were forced to do it. So this is not the big issue anymore. And also bigger companies offering childcare facilities. So all those benefits, they are theirs, and the companies know how to promote them. I think if you see in the benefits of a company, you see if they have asked themselves, what do our employees need in order to be happy? Mm-hmm. So this is already the first step to attract a diverse workforce, to really think about different ways of thinking and different needs.
Mm-hmm. I know of two cases very similar. They've worked for an organization for a long time, one in the utilities and one who's a head of BI. And they've both reduced their contracts as agreed with their employer by having children and by being there for a long time, really proving themselves and having that sort of negotiation room, if you like, because they've got that level of influence. And they're telling me when they want to look outside their organization for their next job move, that there are no part-time jobs for what they do, for this professional role. And part-time is something we didn't really mention there. We talked about flexible working and home working, although some people have reduced their hours or asking for 30 hours. What's your view on the change to accepting part-time? And when I'm saying part-time, we're talking about people who've gone from 5 days to 4. So it's only the 37.5 to 30 hours. We're not talking huge shifts. We're not talking going down to 12 or 16-hour contracts. But what is your view on the part-time philosophy?
Yeah. Well, that's still something that I'm working on because, I have 2 kids, I'm working part-time, and it's just, I see that it's possible to have almost the same output working 30 hours than compared to 40 hours. And I hear that so many times if I talk to people who have reduced their working hours, that they have the same output actually. So this is what I'm usually asking our clients if they accept 30 hours. Sometimes it works, depends on the role, but companies are still hesitating. I think this is a big issue, and this is something that needs to change. But I think, the people require it. Not only women do, also men do. And I think the more and more pressure comes from the people, from those who are looking for jobs, the more and more options there will be.
Yeah, it's a simple checkbox, isn't it? It's interesting that you say that, because both of these candidates, they have reduced their hours but kept the same job. They're doing exactly the same output, but being paid less and being just super efficient and productive, because like you are probably having to be, they have to be. I was listening to a podcast a couple of weeks ago that was really interesting. It was about a model that an Australian company had done, where they take somebody on full time, and they will be full-time 5 days a week, a 37.5-hour contract for a set role. If after 6 months, they've proven that, they've passed probation, they've proven their productivity, they're committed, then they have the option to reduce to a 4-day week to do the same role to keep the same pay. Which I found is very interesting. And what the lady was saying on this interview is that it made her super efficient. And all the while I was thinking of these 2 ladies, thinking they are super efficient. They do exactly the same output, but they do get paid less, which is the difference between this company. And obviously this company does it to everybody. They don't mind if you're a parent, not a parent. It's offered to any employee who wants to do it in 4 days, who believes they can do their role, their what they've been recruited for. Mm-hmm. If they can do it in 4, you can do it in 4. You can have a 3-day weekend and you'll be paid exactly the same. Just make sure it's right. That's all they're asking. And this is a development firm. So I think this is, a fantastic example. Rare, unusual, definitely. But I wonder what you thought about that.
I just want to add something to that. I think that's the next big shift that we're going to see. Like, we have this shift to accepting that it is possible to work remotely, people will start to understand that you don't need to have a fixed amount of hours in your contract, and we will move to a more output-driven model. Because actually, when I watch my colleagues, especially when they're in the office, they're not doing anything. They're sitting together, discussing projects for hours on end, having lunch breaks forever. I mean, of course, we're a sales entity, but these people are not doing anything. So they could do the same amount, they would create the same amount of output if they worked for like 4 days. It doesn't make any difference. And I think they only work for 4 days anyway, but nobody actually admits it.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Everybody's just filling those 40 hours with little things that take time that you could basically not do, and nobody would notice. So I feel this is the next big shift, going away from this. You work 40 hours and I watch you doing that. So we are now going to remote work, and from remote work, we will go to a more, you know, what are you actually delivering model. So that I think that's the next thing that will happen.
Absolutely. It's getting away from presenteeism. You know, that element of just being present is enough to, as you say, to focusing on actually competency and productivity output. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Yeah. To challenge one more point to you, Tina, if I can, about that before we move on. Pay. I have a big thing about gender pay gap, particularly when people are doing exactly the same role and you can see there's a disparity. And this has always been highlighted to me when I have a female candidate who applies for a role. They will put down their current salaries already lower, even though they've got the same experience as a male candidate. And then their requested salary is only a touch more than that. So it's still well under what a male candidate with exactly the same level of experience, years experience, all the rest of it, comes to the table with. Why are women, or why do you think women are so reluctant to ask for more or go for the market rate? And how do you advise women to put forward what they're after?
Yeah, I definitely have made the same experience. I mean, and it starts with me. When I had my first job interviews, I don't remember exactly, but I guess I didn't dare to mention a number that would really be attractive for me. So I don't know where this comes from. I think that we're just being raised to be nice girls, smiling and accepting the status quo, and I think that's still inside of us. I definitely experienced that women ask for 10 to 20% less than male candidates. And I'm trying to coach these ladies and tell them, look at their current salary and see what is the average salary for the position that they're looking at, what would be a fair pay for them. And even though I do that, I very often see that when it comes to the job interview, when it comes to negotiating the salaries, that they don't dare saying the number that we actually discussed, or if they receive a job offer, they don't dare negotiating the salary, but because the company is interesting, the job is interesting, so I'm accepting what I have here because I'm really motivated. That's what I hear very often. And the man would also say, I still want to negotiate, and also in 6 months I want to negotiate, and then 6 months after. So, they dare to challenge more than we do. I think this is also what I see in school. Competition is or boys are more trained to be competitive than women, or than girls. Sorry. So I think that this is also something that we need to think of. Women accept what they've been given, and men try to challenge a little more.
Yeah, that's right. So I think we all made these experiences that we did not negotiate our salary. So as you said, Tina, I think one big part of it is to have the courage and the self-confidence, yeah, and believe in your skills. And there is no one better out there than you for this job. And the other thing is that you really need to know how to do it. So thanks, Tina, for showing them how to do it. Honestly, so I just asked them. Years ago, yeah, I was in this situation and I was like, okay, how can that happen that someone who I trained earns now more than me? Yeah, so this was the situation. I was like really like half crying because I thought so worthless somehow. Yeah, and then I really went to my former boss and said, okay, come on. How do you need to do that? Yeah, and how do you need to negotiate? How do you need to to tackle this problem with an HR manager, for example? And if you know the tricks, and they are quite simple, as somehow, yeah, then it's just a matter of experience or routine. Yeah, just do it once a year or twice a year, or try it every second year. Yeah, just do it. Yeah. And experience it.
Yeah, I think what really helps, I mean, that's at least a method that I'm using a lot, is to visualize when you do it. So really see yourself in giving the number that is really attractive for you, writing it down, talking to yourself in the mirror and saying the salary, then you already train yourself without being in front of the hiring manager or the HR manager. So there are a few tricks, but I think it's really important that we are more courageous.
I want to mention about the whole money thing. I think what you have to look at is your underlying beliefs, because we carry so much beliefs around money with us that you have to be really careful why you're not asking for money. There's this belief I carried with me for a long time, and that's you do not talk about money. So money is something you have, you don't have to ask for it, and you never mention that it's not enough or something. That's just not something you do. So this is just one of the many beliefs around money and payment and salary that you carry with yourself. And that's something, if you look at that closely, because it took me also quite a long time to realize that if someone offers me a job, they want to have me. And if they want to have me, I have room for negotiation. And it takes such a long time to understand that negotiation is not something bad. But for me, I think it was very strongly this belief that you don't talk about money,
And honestly, it's not always about money. So if you negotiate only about money, it might be not such a good strategy, because I started to negotiate about more holidays, for example. Yeah,
also possible. It's also more money.
Or
more money for less hours.
Somehow it's more money, but additional benefits, or you want to have more skill development there, or you want to get the mentor or something like this. So really think of what you really want, and it's not always about money, but really what takes you further in your career. So this is an important part as well.
Yeah, sure. But I think but it starts with the money you ask for when you get a job. And I think one of those hurdles that we as women have is that we are really conditioned not to make waves. That's the first thing, so you're trying to be nice, as you mentioned, Tina, because we're brought up to be nice girls. And then there's this thing with the money and knowing your own worth is another thing, that you kind of put a number to your own worth. That is also something that's very difficult for women to do, I think. And all these little beliefs that you were given when you grew up, you have to open that up and look at it, and then maybe you have a chance to just openly say, no, that's not enough money, and I want more, or give me more holidays. If you don't want to give me more money, give me more holidays. Actually, I had this really interesting experience recently with a job offer. They had unlimited holiday. So
wow.
So you could, if you felt that you needed more holiday, you just go on holiday. You just had to just tell people that you go. That was such an amazing concept. I mean,
no, I completely agree with you, Ronke. I was thinking when you said about money, I was thinking money, dirty word. It's vulgar. We don't want to talk about that. And maybe that is, as much a gender thing, even Ushi then talking about, no, I was more bothered about holiday. And it's almost like stigma wise, do we not want to be associated with, demanding more because secretly, in the background from our childhood or whenever, we've got this idea that it's greedy, that it's asking too much. So yeah, really valuable points, and definitely I think for people to think about why they feel that they can't ask for their worth. I always just go to market value and say these are all the jobs that are doing what you do, and they're all paying more than what you're getting, or let's look at those. You've got to fall in there somewhere.
Yeah,
because you can't argue with that. That's market rate.
Yeah,
there's enough websites now as well that publicize, average rates for different regions and various other things that you can go to these and do the comparisons. So you feel informed, I think, when you're doing that negotiation, that you're not. Okay, so it's been great having you here today, Tina. And I guess it just would like to hand over to you for some final words on tips for our listeners about how they would go about hiring and improving their gender balance and diversity.
Yeah. We all know that diversity is important, and it always also makes a company more successful. So it's just an advantage for every company to try to attract more women. And if we all help out each other and try to empower each other, I think that's already a step forward, that we can all try to make women more visible, to show more role models, to read books to our children that show female superheroes and scientists and whatsoever. So I can really recommend the book Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls. I love this book and my girls love it. And it showcases 100 women on each page, a woman and telling about her story. And I will definitely keep fighting for more women in tech, and I enjoy very much interviewing all those women in my HR for Women in Tech interviews, and also we're going to start doing events. So yeah. Thank you for this opportunity, and let's keep on going.
Thank you, Tina. That's fantastic. And don't forget to check out Tina's YouTube channel. So we'll make sure we pop the link underneath here, HR for Women in Tech interview series. So thank you very much. If you would like to watch any of the previous episodes, this is the third one now, you can check them out over on the YouTube channel that will also be linked underneath this video. And look out for the next episode. So thank you, ladies. It was an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed tonight's discussion. There was so much value in there. Thank you very much. Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.